Hey Sarah, so what I did in this video is I broke up the Hammer to Fall solo into 14 different licks. They are all approximately the same length, however some of them are much more difficult than others. So I think the best course of action to practice them is to just take it one at a time. I highly advise against watching this entire video in one sitting and trying to digest it that way. I put little numbers in the bottom right hand corner of the videos, so you can just scroll through and it'll tell you which lick it'll be on. Hopefully that'll help you memorize it and help you track it a little bit better. But I would recommend at the very beginning just starting off with like the first 2 licks, and then next day maybe sit down, look at licks 3 and 4, next day maybe look down, or sit down and look at licks 5 and 6 and breaking it up that way, because if you try and learn it all at once, it's just not going to happen and you're just going to be kind of beating your head against a wall. So that would be my recommended way to go about learning the solo in a relatively short amount of time. So we're going to start off at the very beginning with lick number 1. This comes in around, I believe, 206 of the song, and here's what it sounds like. So what that actually breaks down to is we're going to put our third finger at the 17th fret on the high E string. We're going to bend it up a whole step from A to B. Then we're going to release, we're going to pick 17 on the high E, we're going to pick 16 on the high E, we're going to pick 14 on the high E, then we're going to pick 17 on the B string, and then 16 on the B string. Okay? Play it one more time. That is lick number 1. If you need to go back, pause the video, rewind, you can. Okay, this is going to be lick number 2. It's very similar to lick number 1. It sounds like this. Alright, so we're going to start with our third finger on the 19th fret of the high E string. We're going to bend that up a whole step from B to C sharp. Now, unlike the first lick, instead of releasing that and then picking that note, we're actually just going to start by picking 17 on the high E string, then 16 on the high E string, then 19 on the B string, then 17 on the B string, and then ending in the same place that we did at the end of the first lick on the 16th fret of the B string. Alright, so one more time, that is... Alright, so lick number 3 is... Alright, so that starts off with a bend again at the 17th fret, a whole step up from A to B, third finger on the 17th fret of the high E string. Then we're going to release that bend, we're going to pick it again, then we're going to hammer, pull from 16 to 17 back to 16. And then pull off again from 16 to 14 on the high E string. Then we're going to land on the 17th fret of the B string with our third finger, and then again a hammer pull from 16 to 17, but this time on the B string. And then we're going to walk down on the B string 14, 12, 10, 9, and ending on 9. And that is the third lick. Alright, the fourth lick is two little phrases that we are going to combine into one lick just because they're both pretty simple. So it starts off with this, and that is a bend on the 17th fret of the B string from that E note to that F sharp. Release it, pull off with your first finger onto the 15th fret of the B string, and then put your second finger on the 16th fret of the G string and play that note twice. So that's the first half of this lick. And then the second half of the lick is going to be a bend on the 19th fret of the high E string. So we're going to bend that up from B to C sharp a whole step. Release, and then land on the 15th fret of the B string with our first finger. And then again, we're going to end with 2 16th frets on the G string with our second finger. So the whole thing sounds like this. Alright, so the fifth lick sounds like this. And what it actually is being played is a bend on the 17th fret of the high E string, up a whole step from B to A. And on the recording, Brian May, the guitarist for Queen, he plays a pinch harmonic here, which is an artificial harmonic, and we haven't talked about that yet. So if what you're playing on the guitar sounds a little bit different than the recording, that is why. It's a little bit of a complex technique, probably not the best to explain over a video lesson, but when you get next Thursday, we can talk about it in our actual face-to-face lesson. But for now, that will be fine to play, is just a 17 bend up to the B note there. So 17 on the high E string with the third finger. And then we're going to play the 14th fret twice. Then we're going to play the 17th fret twice. Pull off from 17 to 15 on the high E. Then we're going to play 17 again. And then we're going to bend, or move up to the 19th fret, pick it, and then bend from 19 to 21, so from that B to that C sharp. And then we release it, and then we pick 17 again on the high E. And then we bend again, and this bend from 19 to 21, so from that B to that C sharp, is going to be held for a lot longer. And you'll hear in the recording, that's when this first A section of the solo kind of ends, and we move into like the B section, so you'll hear that transition. Alright, so this is going to be the sixth lick of our solo, and this is kind of the start of the B section of the solo. Now, it's important to note that there are two guitars here in the recording, and they overlap a little bit. So we're going to not play the first part of the second guitar because it would be physically impossible. So we're going to rejoin the second guitar when it hits these notes. And I will drop in a sample of the recording of the actual song here in the video so you can hear exactly the section I'm talking about. But there's going to be like a little walk up, and it's going to end right there, and that's where we want to come back in. So we want to play that note, which is the 7th fret on the D string, and then the 8th fret on the D string. And then this is going to be the 6th lick. So we're going to pick, as I said, the 7th fret on the D string up to the 8th fret on the D string. Then we're going to hammer pull from 7 to 8. Then slide down to 5. Then walk back up. So we're going to go 5, 7, 8 on the D string. Then we're going to stop our walk up on the 5th fret of the G string with our first finger. And then, after we pluck that note, we're going to hammer pull from 5 to 7 on the G string, so it's going to be, and then again we're going to slide down to the 3rd fret on the G string, and then we're going to slide back up 3 to 5, 5 to 7, and then pick 7 to 8 on the G string, and that is lick number 6. Alright, so lick number 7 is going to be Alright, so what that is a hammer, 2 hammer pull-offs to start from 7 to 8 on the G string. So we're going to go slide down from 5 to 3 on the G string, then slide back up from 3 to 5, from 5 to 7, from 7 to 8 you're going to hammer on, and then you're going to slide that second finger up to the 10th fret on the G string. And that is the 7th lick of the solo. So lick number 8 is this. And it's going to start off very similar to the way lick number 7 started off, with a hammer and pull off. This time it's only going to be on the 9th and 10th frets instead of on the 7th and 8th, and it's going to go like this. And then we're going to walk up 9, 10, 12 on the G string. Then we're going to hit 10, 11 on the B string. Then we're going to hammer and pull that off. So we're going to go walk back down a little bit. So we're going to go 12, 10 on the G string, and then back up 10, 12 on the G string, 10, 11 on the B string, 13 on the B string, and then bend that 15 on the B string up to 17, so from that D note to that E note. Alright, and that would be lick number 8. Lick number 9 is a pretty straightforward, although it is played very fast, but a pretty straightforward descending hammer pull thing. So we're going to start on the 13th or the 15th fret of the B string with our 3rd finger. We're going to play that, and then hammer pull from 11 to 13, so, and then slide down to the 11th fret, and then hammer pull the same way, slide down to the 10th fret, hammer pull, slide down to the 8th fret, hammer pull, slide down to the 6th fret, hammer pull, and then end on that E note on the 5th fret of the B string. So all together it sounds like this. And that will be lick number 9. Alright, now lick number 10 starts off what I will call the C section of the solo, and it starts off on the 6th fret of the G string. And it sounds like this. And that is going to be 6th on the G string with our 1st finger, then 7 on the G string with our 2nd finger, then 9 on the G string with our 3rd finger, then 10 on the B string with our 1st finger, then 12 with our 3rd finger, then bend the 12, pull the 12, release the 12, pull off to 10, and then bend 12 again. And that is lick number 10 and the start of the C section of the solo. Alright, so lick number 11 is this. And that is, we're going to start on the 10th fret of the high E string, and we're going to pick to the 12th fret, so we're going to go with our 3rd finger, and then bend the 12th fret, release, pick the 10th fret with our 1st finger, and then we're going to step down and go 9, 10, 12, and then 10 on the B string, and then pick the 12th fret of the B string, bend it, release, pull off, and then bend it again. So that will be lick number 11. Again, if you need to go back to the beginning of the section just to watch the beginning of it at full speed, you can. Alright, so lick number 12 is going to be... And that starts on the 16th fret of the high E string. You're going to bend it up. This time it's only going to be a half step bend. So we're going to bend from the 16th fret to the 17th fret, or from that G sharp to that A natural. So it's different from the rest of the bends in the solo, because the rest of the bends so far have been whole step bends. So this is a little bit, it is not as far of a bend. So we're just going to go like this. And then when we release the bend, we pick the 16th fret again. Then we hammer pull from 12 to 14, or from 14 to 16. Then pick the 17th fret on the B string, then return to the 14th fret on the E string, then again pick the 17th fret on the B string, and then pull off 17, 15, 14, then hammer on 14 to 15, then pick the 17th fret on the high E string, so that is on the high E. Then we're going to play the 14th fret on the G string, and then we're going to bend the 16th fret on the G string twice. Alright, so we're reaching the end of the solo here. This is going to be lick number 13. It's going to sound like this. And what we're doing here is, so we're going to still have our 16th fret bent up a whole step from the end of lick 12, so it should be like this. And then we're going to pick it and release it. Then pick the 14th fret on the G string. Then pick the 17th fret on the B string with our pinky. Walk down 17, 15, 14. Then we're going to hammer pull from 14 to 15. Then we're going to pluck 16 on the G string, 14 on the G string, 13 on the G string, 11 on the G string, 9 on the G string, 7 on the G string, 6 on the G string, and then we're going to pluck 7 on the D string twice. And that is lick number 13. Alright, so our 14th and final lick of the solo for Hammer to Fall is going to be this. And that is going to start off on the 7th fret of the G string with our second finger. We're going to pick it, then we're going to hammer from 6 to 7, then end on the 7th fret of the D string with our second finger. Then we're going to pause, I believe 2 whole beats, and then we're going to do the same thing again. This time no pause, go right into another one. And then after you finish that one, immediately go to the 9th fret on the G string with your third finger and bend that up a whole step. And that is going to be the last lick of the Hammer to Fall solo.